All right, so we are group one and we're doing a presentation on the case study um, excuse me, clipping negative behaviors. First up, Evelyn will be doing the introduction, and then it's Colleen who's doing the background, and then I will be doing the solution. Jasmine will be last in doing the conclusion, and then we will all be giving our parting thoughts and an evaluation. So Evelyn, take the floor.
Thank you. So in our group presentation today, I will be conducting the introduction in regard to our case study, Clipping Negative Thinking. The problem that this organization has is with the lack of demand of the use of paper clips, and due to the growth of technology, due to like people using e-documents and other sorts in that area, the goal was to come up with solutions to help better their business to extend the resources and the use for paper clips. And in this case study, Clipping Negative Thinking, it was observed that there were multiple errors in communication. For example, the vice president explained that the brainstorming activity she had was to effectively collaborate with others. However, in this brainstorming activity, their role was to allow everyone 15-minute intervals. The vice president recorded the audio recording to extend ideas through verbal communication. Although the communication between the participants were not effective, the senior managers as well as the junior managers did not see eye to eye or respect one another when developing possible ideas to increase the profits. The senior managers spoke over the junior managers, and this resulted in the senior managers to have a seniority over them, and the junior managers weren't allowed to speak and didn't even get a word in. And then the vice president did not handle this situation well. It should have been handled in a professional manner. However, this wasn't the case. She didn't speak until it was at the very end of the discussion when she stated that the brainstorming activity wasn't working, and she threw up her hands and she was frustrated, but it was in a very unprofessional manner.
Mm-hmm.
So in conclusion, it is evident that the communication between the organization was very poor. To effectively communicate as a group, it is important to think of ideas as a team and to critique one another's group members' ideas, not show respect, as well as overshadow the conversation when someone else is trying to speak, shows where the problem may have stemmed from in this organization. So in regard to the brainstorming idea, the vice president could have handled it in a better manner, and it could have had great success. Although, due to the lack of professionalism and individual respect with active listening to other peers, it resulted in this chaotic meeting to end on a bad note.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Evelyn. That was a great introduction. Colleen, you're up next. You'll be doing background.
Okay, so my name is Colleen, and I'm going to be doing the background and methodology of the case study analysis of clipping negative thinking. So basically, what I had analyzed was that the paperclip company is the primary supplier to big discount stores. And then the myriad of problems facing the paperclip company can be traced to three causes. So one of the causes was the difficulties that began with a huge slump in sales. So basically, because people were using more e-documents and e-files, fewer people were buying the paper clips in order to fasten the paper together. So this had led to a huge drop in sales by 15% each year for the past 3 years. So the result of these three problems being that the company was forced to reduce the size of its manufacturing plant and lay off several employees. So the vice president of the marketing had key factors that she believed would help to increase the sales by identifying new and creative uses for paper other than holding sheets of paper together. So these 3 factors were number 1, she had assembled her brightest and most creative managers to develop possible new ways for paper clips in order to be used. And then number 2, she had announced the rules of brainstorming, and then she had set the 15-minute time frame as Evelyn suggested. And then number 3, she turned on a digital recorder to capture the verbal comments and the ideas suggested. And then later on, she would give those to her administrative assistant, who would then later type the list and share it amongst the group. So due to several team members who couldn't resist critiquing ideas of others, and then the senior managers trying to overstep the junior managers and not giving them a platform to basically voice their opinions and allowing them to project their ideas, levels of frustration grew within the company, and they came to a realization that nothing was going well and that their form of communication amongst one another was not working.
Perfectly said, Colleen. Thank you for that. Up next, I'll be reading the solution. So the way I wrote this in my outline was that I separated my outline into 2 ideas. One was what went wrong before and what could change for the better. In order for a group to successfully execute an idea, there must be a supportive, communicative, and just efficient, positive environment in which ideas can be thought of, spoken into existence, and then subsequently exercised. What went wrong? So it is integral for those in a high position, i.e. group leader, vice president, etc., to take initiative and come prepared with ideas, or in the specific case, the vice president could have better moderated the group and the conversations being had. In this case study, the environment in which the ideas were thought of was not a positive environment for junior managers due to the lack of support from the senior managers. And therefore, a hostile environment had been created, and thus the junior managers did not feel that they could thrive in such an environment. So what can change? Our proposal to this issue would be a nominal group technique. This would encourage open communications about not only one person's thoughts, but the collective thought, opinion, and feeling on an idea, and discourage any negative attitudes or feelings of inadequacy from one person to another. And it would just being more open and honest. It would just create a better environment. And so Jasmine, you've got the floor for the conclusion.
Well, in my conclusion, I put that it's shown that not many of the teamwork was happening, that everybody lost interest. So with all the teamwork made the company lose many of the profit. It showed that many of the workers did not give positivity to the company, that led to have poor communication. The vice president showed that she was not well put with the group, which lead to no teamwork. What the method they used with brainstorming did not lead to what they thought would lead to. It just led to frustration, and that method did not even help at all with the teamwork with anybody that was involved with this. And overall, it showed that having great communication and have positive mind can lead to better teamwork. And then being negative, because what was shown, it was more negative, and not having great attitude that can drop the group and not wanting to work together. As it's shown in the case stated, that communication is a big part in the group, because this could grow bonds and have great teamwork.
Right. I was just thinking, I was wondering how, I mean, we've decided that a nominal group technique would have been efficient and it would have been better, but I get the impression that not only do they have some sort of gripe with the actual business, but with one another. Do you guys have any recommendations on how maybe they could overcome that going on?
Okay, so basically, I felt that the group members did not contribute valuable information and consciously analyze the issues that had arose within the group. So I feel like the vice president could have possibly used a different approach of the brainstorming session. Um, like you had mentioned, Haley, they could have used the nominal group technique, which is basically a procedure that uses some of the principles and methods of active brainstorming. So they could have also deferred from using judgment in order to compose as many ideas as possible. And then basically, the more ideas being generated amongst the group, the more they would be able to find a quality answer to the problem.
Yeah, well said, Colleen. That was great. Did anyone have anything to add to that?
Yes, I do. So I believe that in the past that there have been issues where this hasn't been the first time. For example, it stated in the beginning of the case study that the the prices and the profits have dropped 15% for the past 3 years. So within the first year, that's when they should have collaborated in the beginning and discussed some ways on how to increase the profits. That way, if this happened again by the third year, they could communicate more effectively on how to increase their profits in a more professional manner without the increase in tension, and it can be a positive climate.
Right. And so our sort of parting thought slash ending notes for this presentation, each of us will be very quickly summarizing the evaluation part, and then we will conclude the presentation for the night. Would anybody like to go first?
Yes.
Okay, so I felt that the organization didn't define the nature of the problem, and it did not define the solutions in order to fix that problem. So basically, the vice president, she presented with no structure on how her ideas were brainstormed. And if she would have set the environment where the group could have used critical thinking, listening, thoughtful arguments, and set clear procedures, then the would have better benefited in achieving a common goal of increasing the sales for the paperclip company. So the group basically needed a supportive climate amongst one another, which would have helped to the group to thrive.
Great, thank you.
So for the organization of the group study, they did have a common goal. And in regard to the paperclip company, they all were meeting to discuss on how to raise the prices. However, it was evident that the communication was poor and the communication was short. And it is important to speak together as a group with respect, because without this respect with one another, this type of discussion group, it can be harmful with communicating with one another, and it'll keep the entire group from reaching their common goal.
You gave
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jasmine.
You gave a very good point, Evelyn, how there should have been respect, because if you kind of read through the case study, that you could have tell that not many of them had respect for each other. You could tell that everyone was very frustrated. They did not want to be in the meeting and did not want to at least prove more on their profits. There was just really, it was not really organized, and that many of them didn't seem like if they really want to put their work. There was just literally, there is no teamwork in overall in the whole company.
Great point, Jasmine. I think that's it. I think we're ready to wrap it up. I think that all of your arguments and everything that you guys said were so eloquently put and well thought out. So thank you all. And that'll conclude our presentation for the night.
Thank you.
Thank